Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see here, I have an opening statement prepared. However, sometimes things happen where you have to change on the fly. So I'm still going to give you this opening statement. However, I'm going to tell you something first up front. So probably 30 minutes ago from now, you all were back in the jury room. Mr. Madden was brought into the courtroom here. The record was on. We had to deal with some preliminary matters before you were all brought in. Mr. Madden saw Michaela Madden in the back of the courtroom, and the rest of family members. And he turned to them and said, as he made a motion of this, I'm responsible for what happened to her. I didn't mean it. I love you. That was recorded, and you're going to hear that recording during this trial. You're also going to hear from witnesses that also heard it. Detective Horton heard it. He was sitting here. Michaela heard it. She was sitting there. He was talking right to her. So you're going to hear that in this trial. And now, my plan is to give my opening statement that I did have prepared and explain to you what he didn't mean to do. And ladies and gentlemen, it's 55. That's the number that I want all of you to remember. You're going to hear that number a lot throughout this trial. And that's because that's the number of times that Toby Madden, that man sitting right there, stabbed Rochelle Broussard on October 11th of 2022 and killed her. 55. He stabbed his girlfriend of over 20 years and the mother of his child 55 times. And because of this stabbing, he was charged and indicted on 4 counts. And I think it's important, I know you heard it already from the judge in voir dire, but I think it's important that you hear the indictment, and I'm going to read it to you. And I think it's important because I want you to understand these charges, and I want all of you to understand the elements that the state's going to prove to you throughout this trial. Count 1, murder. On or about October 11th of 2022 in Butler County, Ohio, Toby L. Madden did purposely cause the death of Rochelle Broussard, which constitutes the offense of murder, an unclassified felony in violation of Revised Code 290302 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Ohio. Count 2, murder. On or about October 11th, 2022, in Butler County, Ohio, Toby L. Madden did cause the death of Rochelle Broussard as a proximate result of the offenders committing or attempting to commit an offense of violence that is a felony of the first or second degree and that is not a violation of Section 290303 or 290304 of the Revised Code, which constitutes the offense of murder, unclassified felony in violation of 290302B. Count 3, felonious assault. And then in parentheses, serious physical harm. On or about October 11th of 2022, in Butler County, Ohio, Toby L. Madden did knowingly cause serious physical harm to Rochelle Broussard, which constitutes the offense of felonious assault, serious physical harm, a second-degree felony in violation of 2903-11A1. And finally, count 4, felonious assault with a deadly weapon. On or about October 11th of 2022, in Butler County, Ohio, Toby L. Madden did knowingly cause or attempt to cause physical harm to Rochelle Broussard by means of a deadly weapon or dangerous ordinance, which constitutes the offense of felonious assault with a deadly weapon, a second-degree felony in violation of 2903-11A2. That's what he's been charged with for what happened on October 11th of 2022. So I'm going to take you back to that time. On October 11th of 2022, Toby Madden and Rochelle Broussard were living in a house at 1270 Parish Avenue in the city of Hamilton, Butler County, Ohio. They were living there and they were renovating that residence at the same time. And on October 11th of 2022, Rochelle had called the city of Hamilton, the utilities department, and asked that the gas be turned on because they didn't have any gas service there. So at 8 a.m. on October 11th of 2022, 4 City of Hamilton utility workers came out to the residence at 1270. And you're going to hear from all 4 of them. They're going to explain to you how they went up to the door, knocked at 8 a.m. She answered. She let them in. She had a big dog. They had a big dog in this residence. She showed them the way to the basement. They needed to go see the furnace and do some work on the furnace. So she showed them the way to the basement, and she sat on the couch near the front door holding the dog so the dog wouldn't bother them. And as they go downstairs into the basement, they go through an adjacent room right next to where she's sitting on the couch with the dog. And these city workers are going to tell you that there was a male in a chair covered by a blanket, and he was sitting there sleeping. And he didn't get up. He was just there. He didn't say anything to him. So they go downstairs into the basement, and they run their tests on the gas lines, but apparently there's something wrong with the furnace. The furnace doesn't work, so they cannot turn on the gas. So around 8:30 a.m., they go back upstairs out of the basement. They tell Rochelle, the male's still sleeping in the chair. I believe he tells one of the workers, like, what's up, or something to that effect. They walk past him. They go into that front room with Rochelle sitting there with the dog, and they tell her, I'm sorry, we can't turn the gas on to your house. The furnace is broken, and you need to get the furnace fixed first. And they leave at about 8:30 a.m., all 4 of them. And they're all 4 going to tell you that they saw Rochelle as they left, and she was alive and well. And that the house, furniture is not in any disarray. The furniture that is in there is in its correct place. So the next thing you're going to hear then is at noon, so 3.5 hours later, Hamilton Police Department gets a 911 call. And they respond out because Rochelle's been stabbed and killed. So you're going to hear from first responders, Officer Katie Johnson and Officer Taras Volchikov, who at the time was with Hamilton PD in 2022. He's no longer with HPD. He's now with Warren County. But you're going to hear from she's a detective now, but Officer Johnson at the time, you're going to hear from her, and she's going to tell you how that when she arrives, she goes into the house, and there's Toby Madden on top of Rochelle trying to do CPR on what is clearly a deceased person. She pulls him off, gets him outside, hands him off to Officer Volchikov, who takes him outside to the sidewalk. And the other thing that Officer Johnson's going to tell you is that when she goes through that house, there's absolutely no signs of forced entry by anyone. Doors are locked, back doors locked. You're going to see these pictures. There's no breaks in the door jamb in the front door. Windows are intact. And Officer Volchikov is going to tell you that, yes, he was acting hysterically inside when Officer Johnson went in there and pulled him off. But as he gets Toby Madden outside on the sidewalk, Toby then asks for a cigarette. And then wants to go back inside because he says he needs to get his jacket and his wallet. Of course, Officer Volchikov doesn't allow this, and Toby gets mad at Officer Volchikov for that. The next thing you're going to hear is you're going to hear from Ann Mayers. Ann Mayers is a neighbor who lived at 1260 Parish Avenue, which is right next door, and these houses are close together. She's going to testify, and she's going to tell you that she was sitting on her porch in the morning around 9 a.m., between 9 and 9:30, and she sat out there every morning with her sister that she lived with and drank her coffee. This morning was a little different on October 11th. She heard a scream, and she said that she's going to tell you that it comes from the direction of 1270, so her left, that she's sitting on the porch. But she's also going to tell you that At that time, on October 11th of 2022, she was 73 years old. And she wore hearing aids, and she didn't have them in that morning. But she still heard the scream, but she wasn't exactly sure what it was. She's going to tell you she didn't know if it was a woman screaming or if it were kids playing in the neighborhood. So she didn't do anything about it. She went inside, and she's going to tell you that she went inside and ate breakfast. But then when she comes back outside after breakfast, she's going to tell you that now there's police activity in there, out in the yard and in the street, because she didn't come back out for a while. And she watched all that police activity, and she heard Toby Madden tell police officers out in the yard that there were 3 city workers that came into my house. You're also going to hear from Michaela, Rochelle's daughter, Toby's daughter. She's going to tell you about her parents' relationship. She's going to tell you how they moved from place to place over the years. She's going to tell you about the on-again and off-again nature of their relationship and the bumpy relationship. She's going to also tell you, as I said before, what he just said to her right here in this courtroom while the record was running. You're also going to hear from Detective Aaron Huckey. He works with the Hamilton Police Department. He's going to testify and tell you that he arrived at the scene on October 11th of 2022. And the first thing that he noticed when he went into that house at 1270 Parish is he's going to tell you how he's hit with the smell of rubbing alcohol. And then he's going to explain to you how he goes through that house and he takes pictures, inside and outside. And you're going to see all of these pictures for yourself. And you're going to see in these pictures that there is no forced entry. You're going to see in these pictures that there was clearly a struggle inside of this house at 1270 Parish. There's going to be an entertainment center overturned, other furniture pushed around, out of place. And you're going to see the pictures of Rochelle's body laying on the floor, deceased, with 55 stab wounds in her body. And the blood that is all over the wall and the window and the floor. Then you're going to hear from Dr. Russell Updegrove, who performed the autopsy on Rochelle's body. He's going to explain to you how he performs an autopsy and how he performed the autopsy on her body. And he's going to guide you through the pictures of the autopsy. And you're going to see in those pictures the stab wounds that are in her legs, that are in her arms, in her back, in her torso, and in her head. And then he's going to go through the pictures of the piercing wounds through her liver, through her lungs, and through her heart that all came from 55 stab wounds. Then you're going to hear from Detective Robert Horton. He's the leading investigator in this case. And he's going to tell you that on October 11th of 2022, that he interviewed Toby Madden. And that Toby Madden implied to him that 3 utility workers from the city of Hamilton did this. They killed Rochelle. And he's also going to tell you that Toby Madden told him in that interview that people were out to get him. And then he follows that up with, but he doesn't know anyone that would want to hurt Rochelle. And Detective Horton is going to tell you how he photographed Toby Madden. Photographed scratches on his arms, on his torso, and on his chest. He's going to tell you that on October 11th at the scene, that he collected a black backpack at the scene that contained a red-handled Swiss Army knife. And that Swiss Army knife appeared to be wet. And he's going to tell you how he went to Rochelle's autopsy. And he collected the black Planet Fitness t-shirt that she was wearing when she was murdered. And you're going to see the holes in that shirt. And he's also going to tell you that he collected a sample of her DNA when he went to that autopsy. And then he's going to tell you that about 2 weeks after the murder, he discovers that Toby Madden went to Kroger the night before the murder on October 10th. And he went to the Kroger on Route 4 and Grand Boulevard in the city of Hamilton. And that's very, very close to 1270 Parish. And he's going to tell you that he pulls video from Kroger. And you'll see the video, and you'll see the still shots from it. And Detective Horton takes note of what Toby Madden is wearing in that video. He's got on a green vest and a gray shirt. And he purchases some candy bars and miscellaneous items. And Detective Horton is then going to tell you how, because of that video and those clothes that he was wearing on October 10th, he obtains a search warrant, goes back into 1270 Parish, and then he finds that green vest and that gray shirt in the basement and finds that Kroger bag. And when he finds that green vest and gray shirt, he sees blood on it. And these are different from the clothes that Toby Madden was wearing when the police showed up on October 11th. Because you'll see in the pictures, he has on a bright yellowish neon colored shirt. And then the next thing you're going to hear is from Detective Doug Trenum. Detective Trenum went in on October 11th into 1270 Parish, and he saw blood stains in the bathroom sink. They were visible to the naked eye, and he collected those blood samples. And he's also going to tell you that there were blood stains and blood in that sink that wasn't visible to the naked eye. And he's going to explain to you how he figured that out and how he found those. And he collected those samples of that blood. He's also going to explain to you that 2 weeks later, after Detective Horton finds these clothes, Detective Trenum takes blood samples off of the green vest and the gray shirt. And he sends all of those samples up to the Bureau of Criminal Investigation in London, Ohio. Now, you'll probably hear all of us refer to that as BCI, but that is the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear from Catherine Daly from BCI. And she's going to come down here and she's going to tell you, she's a forensic scientist, and that she tested all of these samples that were sent to them from the Hamilton Police Department. And what she's going to tell you is that Rochelle's blood is in that sink. Rochelle's blood is on that green vest. Rochelle's blood's on that gray shirt. Ladies and gentlemen, every trial is like a puzzle. When you build a puzzle, and in that trial, every witness that you hear from, they're giving you pieces to that puzzle. Every exhibit that you're going to see is giving you pieces to that puzzle. And as you all know, when you do a puzzle as a kid, or whoever does them even still now, when you're putting that puzzle together, you figure out what the picture is even before you get all the pieces. And throughout this trial, you're going to get those pieces. And you're going to see that that puzzle reveals Toby Madden. And we're going to stand back up here and we're going to ask you to find him guilty on all 4 counts. Thank you.